Hello and welcome to another episode of Discover with Spinati. Today's a special day because it's February 22nd, which is the second month of the year. So it's 2202, 2024. All evens, even Steven, as they say. And today is the podcast number 35, which is an odd number. So never mind. But it is still a very special day. And today we're going to be continuing on what we've been talking about in the past 2 days. Today's day 3 of the series, which is the four most important questions you will ever ask about yourself. Now we talked about pardon me on this one. We talked about why it's important for you to discuss this thing with yourself, in that a life unexamined is not worth living, which is Socrates, who died in February in 399 BC. So it's fitting that we're doing this in February because this is the time to examine yourself. I mean, if you think about it, it is quite coincidental that we're talking about this in February. And Socrates said, a life unexamined is not worth living. So, as I said before, it is adopted from another book, which I condensed to 4 questions. And so, for today, we're going to be talking about how to get results and what kind of results do you want, and to get clear on the results. Because in the first 2, in the mission, the first one, which is the mission, the second one is how to pick your friends. We talked about how to be a hero, okay? And we talked about, the components of a story, which are the 4 components of the story, which is the victim, the villain, the hero, and the guide. So we talked about that. We talked about creating a eulogy for yourself a year, 5, 10 years from now. So now you're clear on how to be a hero, because you can't be the victim in your own story. That's extremely boring. No one wants to read a victimized story, and you cannot be a victim in your own story. It's impossible. You can't. You have to be the hero. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The second thing we talked about is choosing your friends, because you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with. You are everything of the average of the 5 people you hang around with. So it's really important for you to choose your friends. Being an exemplar of your character by starting to not complain, not condemn, not criticize. And we talked about choosing certain people that are going to add value to your life after you decide what kind of values they have. So we talked about that. So we talked about the mission. So now you're the hero of your story. We talked about the friends. So now you have 1 or 2 friends that are going to help you and accelerate you towards the path of excellence. And today we're going to talk about results. And this is the slide I'm going to share with you, which we're going to be talking about. I'm going to share it this way, actually. It's probably better. We're going to talk about this part of the story. Okay, your story, which is, what the heck do you want from life? So we're going to talk about how to understand what you want from life. There's some tricks. We're going to learn from Warren Buffett, which is a very, very wealthy man, one of the most wealthiest men in the entire globe. And we're going to learn from Dr. Oettingen, who is a professor in NYU. And we're going to learn from Ray Dalio, who's also named to be one of the top 100 influential people according to Forbes, and one of the most wealthiest people alive today. So we're going to learn from all those people, and we're going to figure out how we can actually pay the price in playing the right game, to play the game properly, in the game of life, how to do that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some examples. So this one is really, really juicy. You want to stick around, because especially in the middle, there's some really cool things I'm going to talk about that is probably going to tickle your brain a tiny bit. All right. So the first thing is that figuring out what you want. Okay. So Warren Buffett, I told you we're going to learn from Warren Buffett. This is a very, very simple exercise. Warren Buffett has said, for you to figure out what you want and to get clear on your goals, first thing you do is you write down 25 top things that you want to accomplish in your life. 25. You pick 25. So you write down, okay, if you want to do the exercise of the 100, which I talked about, several times in previous podcasts, which is to write down 100 questions and narrow them down to 10. And then from there, Warren Buffett says, after you write down the 25 things that you want to accomplish, then you narrow it down to the 5. And then you dump all the other 20. You don't even think about it anymore. You dump them and you concentrate your efforts on those 5. Okay, so that's the Warren Buffett method. Now, Dr. Oettingen, Gabrielle Oettingen, she came up with a scientific way for you to absolutely crush what you want from life. And she called this the WHOOP. Okay, so anytime that you want to do something, you whoop it, according to her. But I actually examined it a little bit, and obviously I'm a contrarian, but I also examine things, right? Like hers is, she says wish, outcome, obstacle, and then plan. So then I thought about it. I was like, well, the wish, which is what you want, and the outcome, which is why you want it, is basically the same thing. Because if you're wishing for something, you're gonna want to know why you want it. So to me, I'm like, well, just combine the two, and just instead of whooping it, you whop it. Okay, I know there's a song about it, but that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm talking about whopping it so that you can attain your goals. I hope you understand me. So in terms of how to whop it, okay, to whop it, the first thing you have to know is you have to know what is the ideal vision that you want. So you close your eyes, you're like, all right, I want something. I want this. And then you have to figure out why you want it. Okay, that's the first one, which is the W. Okay, the wish. The second is the obstacle, which is everything that we forget to do whenever that we try to plan. And the cool thing is that the people that are in the fixed mindset, people who don't believe in growth, people who believe that they either have or they don't actually think of the obstacles. They think that things are going to go merry along and everything's going to happen according to plan and nothing is going to get in their way. These people have really a fixed mindset, and most likely those people that are not successful. They don't actually attain the goals that they're looking for. So, my friend, you have to think about the obstacles. So write down all the obstacles that may come in the way of you getting that wish and getting that outcome. Literally write down everything that comes to your mind in terms of what the heck is going to stop me from getting the goal. Probably the biggest thing is fear, to be quite honest with you, but you really have to think about it, right? So if you're looking for a business partnership, you have to find a proper business partner. One of the things that can go wrong is the partner could not do what he or she's supposed to be doing. They could betray you. There are a lot of obstacles that can come in the way, but once you figure them out and you look at them on a piece of paper or on the computer screen, you're actually going to smile because like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. If this happens, then this happens. Remember, we talked about Admiral McRaven's way of actually doing a binary decision making process, which is if this happens, then this. If A happens, then do B. If C happens, then do D, and so on and so forth, all the way down the alphabet. Well, then you can apply that. As soon as you figure out your obstacles, you can figure out, okay, well, if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. Okay, and you have a binary decision-making process that you've done way before. So this is the WAP, and the P is the plan. Now, what she stresses is for you to do a simple plan, because the more simple it is, the easier it is for you to follow through with it, and for easier it is for you to apply and execute. But if the more complicated it is, then it's hard for you to actually apply it, correct? So WAP it. Okay, so that's the second thing. And lastly, Ray Dalio. Okay, I'm going to put the slide up here because I think it's really cool. Okay, so Ray Dalio, actually, he's not the one that said life is an experiment, but he did say that the whole point of life is to evolve. That's what he said. However, someone very dear and near to my heart said, life is an experiment. And that is my mom. She said to me, life is an experiment because I was going through something very hard. And I told her, and she goes, well, life is an experiment. Okay. She said it in Arabic. She said that hayat tajriba, which is, life is a series of experiments. So sometimes experiments work, sometimes experiments don't work. And this is literally Ray Dalio's words when he says the whole point of life is to evolve. Well, how do you evolve without doing experiments, right? Because if you're not experimenting, if you're not constantly doing things, then you're not going to evolve, right? Hope you agree with me. So Ray Dalio, he has a 5-step process on getting anything that you want in life, which is very similar to the WAP. Okay. But he basically says you have to have goals. You have to figure out the problems, right? Wish, obstacle. Do you see the pattern here? Okay. Wish, obstacle. And he says, diagnose the problem. So with all due respect to Ray Dalio, I know he's incredibly successful, but I like to think in simple terms. So to me, it's more like goals, problems, diagnosis of the problem. So it's, those problem diagnosis is one step to me anyway. Right? I know I'm nowhere near as successful as Ray Dalio, but I'm trying to simplify these things. So goals, problems, design. So you design the way around it, which is exactly what I told you with regards to obstacles and binary decision making using Admiral McRaven's method of binary decisions. Do you see that? And then executing, which is the plan, right? You figure out the plan. which is part of the design, and you execute. So Ray Dalio and Dr. Oettingen, they all have the same methodology, which is first figure out what you want, figure out the goal, the vision, then figure out the obstacles, the problem, diagnose, figure out what the heck is going on, what kind of problems are you going to encounter, design, plan, and then execute. See how simple that is? And that's the way for you to figure out what you want. You can either adopt the learn by doing, which is the Ray Dalio method, okay, the evolving, right? Life is an experiment. Or you can adopt the Warren Buffett methodology. So you figure out there's really nothing, there isn't a certain way for you to do, there isn't a right way or a wrong way to do something. As long as you're doing something, there's really nothing wrong that you can possibly do, right? So you just keep doing until something works. Now check this out. Check this out. You ready to check it out? Check this out. Okay. Now, ohms. What's ohms? Ohms simply means obstacles make me stronger. Obstacles make me stronger. And this kind of mantra was developed by a man named Joe DeCina, and he is the founder of the Spartan race. So if you know anything about being tough, he is the epitome of tough. Okay. Look him up. Google him. Joe DE. Okay. And then Cena. Okay. SENA. Google him. See how tough he is. He's the one that founded the Spartan race. He's an exemplar of toughness. And he said, and he came up with this philosophy, this mantra of ohms. Obstacles make me stronger. You have a book, which is a very popular, very I don't know if it's groundbreaking, but it's a very seminal book, right? It's a very essential book for your self-development. And it's by Ryan Holiday, who is known to be a philosopher and stoic. And he wrote the book called The Obstacle is the Way. Now, if you think about it, just the title itself, if you're a headline reader, let's think about it. Now, the obstacle is the way. What does it mean when it say the obstacle is the way? Because, a lot of us, not a lot of us, everybody encounters obstacles. You encounter obstacle, and I encounter obstacles. And your neighbors encounters obstacles. And my neighbors, their obstacles is my voice. Okay, at this time when I'm talking for 20, 25 minutes during this podcast. But in all seriousness, the obstacle is the way, meaning that when you adopt the mantra of obstacles make me stronger, it means that you look forward to these obstacles. Think about it. If you're in an obstacle race, right, and you're training in these obstacle races, right, before you get to the actual race, you're training. The more obstacles you get through, the more obstacles you encounter, the stronger physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually that you're going to become. Because you are going to encounter the obstacle, figure out how to overcome it. And then once you overcome it, your confidence increases, your physical prowess increases, emotional resilience increases. It just becomes better. Now, at the time of the obstacle and the time that you're encountering the challenge, yes, your rear end is going to be handed to you on a silver platter. Okay, so it's going to be handed to you. Okay, so that's something to be expected. But the only thing that I kind of am trying to stress is that obstacles is something you should look forward to, is something you should be hungry for, and not something you should shy away from. If you're looking to get stronger, if you're looking to actually accomplish a lot of things, if you're looking to become someone of significance in your own life, forget about other people. If you want to be someone who's proud of yourself throughout life, as you walk through life and navigate through life, then you have to encounter obstacles. The more obstacles you encounter, the stronger you become. Now, if you relent and you back down, then you'll always stay weak. Who wants to stay weak? Are you weak? I know you're not weak. Why would you be watching this podcast if you're weak? You know you're strong. So embrace obstacles. Embrace them. Use it as a fuel. Okay, use it as a fuel. Now, here I put in the slide, and probably a lot of you are going to disagree with me. It's fine. Okay, burnout isn't real. Now, the reason why I'm saying burnout isn't real, okay, and I mean, I didn't say this specifically because I'm trying to get you to be emotionally charged and kind of tell me that I'm full of it. No, that's not the reason. But I really believe that if you have such a high hunger for anything, then burnout doesn't exist for you, right? Because the adrenaline is pumping so fiercely that you cannot stop. You don't know how to stop. So to other people, burnout may be something they have to deal with. But to you, I'm talking to you, the person who is hungry, just wants to change, who wants to accelerate their life, who wants to achieve great things in their life, who wants to look back in their life after 30, 40 years, wants to look back and says, I did that, and I did that, and I did that. Despite everybody not believing in me, I did all of that. And if you really think about it, the people who are the highest achievers are the people who do not burn out. They just keep going. Do they get tired? Yes. Do they get demotivated? Sure. But do they keep going irrespective? Yes. Why? Because their mantra is OMS. Obstacles make me stronger. Now, speaking of impossibility, check this out. So we talked about yesterday. We talked about this man. Okay. We talked about the man who did the marathon in under 2 hours. Okay. His name is Eliud Kipchoge. Eliud Kipchoge. Okay. He ran a marathon, 26.2 miles in less than 2 hours, which the majority of people, okay, now I want you to really think about this. The majority of people thought it was impossible for him to do it. Impossible. It's never been done before. What makes you think that you can do it? And he's an athlete, right? So they're talking to an athlete and they're saying to an athlete that it's impossible for you to get it done. But then because he has such high willpower, such strong belief in himself, and such strong resilience that he's like, you know what? I'm going to get it done. And he figured it out and he got it done. And he did it October 12th, 2019, which is not too far, right? Literally right before COVID. And it happened. So then I want you to kind of think about it. How many times have you heard yourself tell you? How many times have you heard yourself say it's impossible? Right? Like you think to yourself and you're like, it's impossible. Right? I really want this by this time, but it's impossible because I don't know anyone that's done it. Now think about the next few examples I'm about to tell you. Just hang on that thought for a second and think about the next few examples I'm about to tell you. Okay. So Roger Bannister, 1954, ran a 4-minute mile. Roger Bannister, 1954, ran a 4-minute mile. Previous to that, scientists, people who study science and physiology, literally have said that it is physically impossible for someone to run a mile in 4 minutes, in under 4 minutes. Just think with me for a second. Okay? Because if you're thinking to yourself right now, you're thinking of some really high goal, right? Whatever it is. And you're like, yeah, but like the experts are saying it's impossible. The experts, the one who spent their life studying this, said it's impossible. Now, 1954, Roger Bannister, 1 mile in 4 minutes. Prior to that, it was impossible. And said by not just Joe Blow on the street, experts, physiologists, sports scientists, people who study this stuff. Just think about that for a second. Here's another example. Wim Hof. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of him. Wim Hof, he's actually really well known. More than likely you've heard of him. Anyway, he's known to be the Iceman. And he was in an ice bath. And he was in an ice bath for 1 hour and 12 minutes. An ice bath, completely engulfed in ice, in 1 hour and 12 minutes without his body temperature dropping. And he defied all medical science. Again, something, and he, by the way, I think he holds like 25 world records or something like that. But this is another example. So, and another one, 1903, okay, the flight, right? So there were brothers, there were 2 brothers, I believe, that came up with, or they invented a way for flight to happen. Okay, so prior to that, people were saying it's impossible. Space exploration. Okay, let me read to you the quote by a former astronomer, Forrest Moulton's assertion that There is no hope for the fanciful idea of reaching the moon because of insurmountable barriers to escaping the Earth's gravity. This is an astronomer. He said, there's no hope for the fanciful idea. It's a wish. Okay, stop wishing. It's just something that's never going to happen ever. Okay, but how many people have gone to the moon now? It's kind of like a thing. Now they're going to have a tour where you can pay to actually fly to the moon. Right? Like you went from impossible to, yeah, I mean, people do it. I mean, it's no problem, right? Light bulb, Thomas Edison. Same thing. Before him, people thought, not possible. Believe it or not, the computer, internet, impossible. So many things people thought it's impossible. And I want to emphasize with this, and I'll put the slide back on. Okay. And it says, it's always impossible until it's done. That's from Nelson Mandela. He said, it always seems impossible until it's done. Once it's done, then it's possible. You know, when in 1954, after 1954, as soon as Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, a bunch of people did it. Like, if you think about it, you just need that one person to prove that it can be done, and then it's easily replicable. It's people don't say, "Oh yeah, he's just an anomaly. He's just a special." No, so like, okay, he did it. If he did it, then I can do it. Well, why not be the person who can do it and be the person who other people are going to say, "Well, he did it. Well, then I can do it." Right? All right. I'm going to stop belaboring the point. All right. Next on the agenda, 100% responsibility. This is the secret to success. Now, this I got from the man who wrote the series on the Chicken Soup for the Soul. Okay, so he wrote the series. He is one of like the top people when it comes to self-development, self-improvement. And he said, you know, because obviously like he's interviewed people and he studied self-development, he studied success. He said the number one secret for success, the number one secret, if you were to take all the secrets combined and you take the number one secret, is for you to be 100% accountable for everything that happens in your life. That means what? That means you're the hero. You can't be the victim. Once you're the hero and you assume responsibility for everything that happens in your life, now you gain control. There is this formula. Okay, it's E plus R equals O. Okay, E plus R equals O. An event plus your response equals the outcome. Now, the victim, as it says there, the victim thinks the event equals the outcome because they think that their response has nothing to do with it. Well, it's interesting that Buddhists actually think, okay, they have this saying that says an event actually has no meaning. We give the event meaning. Have you ever gone to someone and told them, "Oh my God, I'm going through this," and they look and they're like, "So?" To them, they're not attaching the same meaning that you're attaching to it. So every event has a meaning because you attach a meaning to it. And so in order for you to get an outcome, you have to control the response, which is your responsibility. It's 100% your responsibility. So it's the event plus your response equals the outcome. It's not the event equals the outcome. Your response is in there. So if your response is great, then the outcome is going to be great, irrespective of the event. You get me? Now, here's the last point that I want to discuss with you, which is to obsess with the process. As Gandhi says, he says, be obsessed with the effort, not in the attainment. Full effort is victory. Full effort is full victory. So do not obsess about the outcome. Now, when I know I started this whole thing with, what is it that you want? Yes, you have to know what you want, but you obsess over the outcome, meaning you don't obsess over the dream. You obsess over the work to get to the dream. Now, whether or not the dream happens is up to, divine power if you believe in God. Okay? it's up to fate, but you will get results. You'll get incredible results if you focus on the effort. Now, there's a story that I mentioned, I think it was 2 podcasts ago, with regards to this golfer who started losing all these tournaments, and then he got coached by someone, and that person who was coaching him told him to focus on the process, focus on the swing, focus on the effort. And so he started doing it tournament after tournament. And then he got to the tournament, the $1 million tournament, and he got to the last putt, okay, which is the last shot, the $1 million putt. He didn't even know his score at this point. He was so focused because of his training. He was so focused on the process that all he wanted to do was just do the process perfectly. And as soon as he putted and then it went in, he had no idea that he won. And the only reason why he knew he won is because his wife went and ran across the field towards him. And he exclaimed at that point, he looked at his wife and he said, "Did I win?" Because he was so obsessed with the process. So be obsessed with the process. Steve Pressfield in The War of Art, he says, the professional has learned that success, like happiness, comes as a byproduct of work. The professional concentrates on the work and allows rewards to come or not come, whatever they like. So the professional, such as Michael Jordan, I love Michael Jordan, such as Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, whoever you want to mention as a professional, Elon Musk, whatever, they focus on the process. And whether or not they get the outcome is up to the outcome. But they know what outcome they're looking for. That's why they concentrate on the process. So be obsessed with the process, not the outcome. So what now? Now that you learned all of this, figure out what you want. Learn by doing, as Ray Dalio says, okay? Or figure it out by writing on a piece of paper. Understand that obstacles is something that you want. You want challenges. You don't want it to be easy, because then you're just going to be weak your entire life. You're not going to be someone that people are going to depend on. You're going to be someone that people are just going to kind of be like, okay, well, just give this person the easy task because they can't really figure it out. You're not going to be the smart person. So OHMs, obstacles make me stronger. And lastly, take 100% responsibility. Once you figure that out, ask yourself the next question, which is, what is one thing that you can do right now? What is one thing that you can do right now for you to get closer to your goal? What is one thing that you can do right now after you figured out what you want, you understand the obstacle is the way, and you take 100% responsibility and accountability for what's been going on in your life? Now you have to ask yourself, what is one step that you can do right now? As soon as you finish the podcast, what is one thing that you can do right now for you to get closer to your goal? Thank you so much. Let's get to it. Let's conquer this year, 2024. And as always, keep smiling.